welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're so glad that you're joining us again this evening. We're always happy for people like you that are interested in what's happening in our cities. Because it is important for good government that there be a good interaction between the people that live in the city, the residents, between the mayor, the city council, the city staff, that you're talking with each other about the issues that are being dealt with in your city. So we're glad you're with us tonight. If you haven't watched us before, each week we'll have someone on from one of the 9 cities in CCX's viewing area the mayors, city council people, who will update us on what's happening in that particular city. And then we do encourage you, if it's your city, take down their email and phone number in case some of the issues that we cover are ones that really concern you, and then be in contact. And I'm very happy tonight to welcome Mayor Kathi Hempen.
Thank you.
We're going to update people on New Hope, my city, right?
Your city.
Right. So I'm glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
And since you've been on before, you know that I'm going to let you introduce yourself out to the wider audience. People outside of New Hope may or may not know you, so tell them a little bit about your time in the city and as a mayor.
Well, my name is Kathi Hempen. I've been the mayor for 9 years in New Hope. I love the job. I came from the Planning Commission, where I served for 11 years too as the chair of the Planning Commission. So I have a really good understanding of how the city works and the planning part of the city.
Now let's switch and talk about parks. First, how does New Hope decide what park they're going to work on? Because you generally work on one each summer, right?
We do. All of our parks are listed, and we list when we put the equipment in.
Okay.
And so typically, when the park is 20 years old, you know, the equipment starts to show wear, it starts to break, it starts to be not as safe, and it's outdated, just like anything is. So this year we're doing Sunnyside Park and Bayesian Park. The reason we're doing the two together, they're not real close together, but we're doing the two together because it's a better price.
Okay.
So in Sunnyside Park, we're actually doing the container that the playground equipment is. We had some meetings with the residents to come in and tell us what would they like.
Right.
So we brought some stuff and showed them the stuff. They picked out what they would want. We try to make the park fit the people that live around the park.
Right.
So Sunnyside is getting this new park equipment.
Where is Sunnyside located?
Sunnyside is on 47th and about Quebec.
Ah, okay.
So if you go up Quebec,
then I kind of know which one it is. Right.
We're also redoing the basketball court and the hoops at Sunnyside. And where the combination with Bayesian Park is, we're doing just the basketball and the hoops at Bayesian Park. And that's on about 55th and off on a Winnetka.
Right.
So those two parks are going to get new equipment. Of course, it's bright and shiny and clean and beautiful.
Right.
And so we try to look at our equipment. I asked if they could resell it, and they said there's some safety issues with reselling it. Part of it is as they disassemble it, it's not as good as it was when it was new.
I suppose, yeah, not as strong.
The other thing we're going with a company that will allow us to just replace pieces of. So when they had that fire at Hidden Valley Park, they were just able to replace just the certain pieces rather than the whole structure. That tends to save us a lot of money.
Oh, I would think it would.
And as different pieces wear out or they get damaged, we can just replace those pieces. So New Hope is known for their lovely parks. We have a park within 6 blocks of anybody's house.
Yeah, they did a good job of planning those, I think, early on.
Planned a long time ago, and we intend to keep it up that way.
And that's one of the things that attracts people to a community, I think.
I think so.
If you've got a family with children and you've got this park just a few blocks away or maybe right on your doorstep.
Even if you're older and you like to play on the zip lines, they still have that.
Yeah, that's kind of fun, the one down at
the double
Meadow Lake,
There's a double zip line at Northwood Park, too. And so this new place will get a zip line, too, I believe.
And things like that, what people want to use, changes over the years. Now, we'll talk a little bit more, you did beginning, about the new police station in City Hall. Maybe you can talk a little bit so people understand what are the stages that have to be gone through to bring us to the point where you're starting to do this construction.
So when we first started talking about this. We knew the City Hall was in poor shape. It wasn't that we weren't keeping up with the repairs, it was just an aging building, and it was much too small for us. So then we started to look at areas where we could put it. Now, this was before the Hy-V came. And so that was one of the thoughts, that we would build it there where the Hy-V was. Well, as soon as Hy-V came in, that all changed. So then we started looking at the Civic Center Park. That's where it is now. And we started doing soil borings because we knew there were places in that park that were very low. And when we do soil borings, it's not because the soil is contaminated, it's unstable. Or it's soggy. And so the only places that the soil was good is where the City Hall is now and where the pool is. And that's probably why they put the pool there, for that same reason many years ago. And so there were a couple options. We could tear down the City Hall where it is now and rebuild it, but then what do you do with the police department?
During that
While
time.
you do that, and what do you do with the city staff, and what do you do with all the electronics? And so that wasn't a very good option. We could remodel the City Hall that we had. The remodeling would cost just a little bit less than a new building.
Oh, that's surprising.
And it was not going to give us the room we needed for that police department. So then the next thing we did is we looked around, and the pool was the only stable place. So we looked at tearing down the pool and building the new City Hall there. So 8.5 million. And I have a hard time saying that number, it's so big. 8.5 million is what the new City Hall is what we're bonding for. And that will give us underground parking for the police cars. That will give us a sally port. That's where they bring the prisoners in.
A secure entrance,
Totally contained. It'll give us a nice new City Hall, and it'll be right next to the fire department. We want to think of that as our city center, that area there. So once that's down, right now all the pool buildings are down. They're going to start tearing up the pool itself. Kind of an interesting thing, they put a camera on the top of the old City Hall, and they take a picture about every 10 minutes, and you can see the demolition
that's kind of
of
fun.
the building. So if you go onto the city's website and press the button that says reconstruction or new City Hall, it'll show you that video, and it's kind of fun to see it. Now next week they should start actually digging out the pool itself. Now the drama with the pool, and it is drama. It never dawned on us that the 50-meter pool we have was as valuable as it was.
That was surprising.
We also knew that the pool was leaky. So the pool's been there for 50 years. Usually pools last 20 to 30 years, and this is long past its life. There were a lot of places in the pool that weren't really ADA accessible, but the 50 meters is what the swim teams like to use. And we would have swim meets there. They'd attract a lot of people, but we didn't make a lot of money on them. So then we looked at some pool options. We had 8.5 million to spend, and we gave it to the designers. We said, what can you give us for 8.5 million? And they designed a pool area with a deep well and the diving, and the play area for the kids, and the ADA accessible, and a lazy river or a pool with a, what do you call it, the thing that makes the water go around fast. Lazy river. So anyway, the pool, the way it is now, will have a 25-yard pool, plus this lazy river, plus all this other stuff. We've gone to the state and asked them, and actually they came to us.
Well, and that was after hearing from a lot of people. That I think, if I remember, there's only 3 in the metro area. New Hopes?
Well, there's one at the University of Minnesota, and there's one at Edina, but they only use it for the Edina people.
So they're a rarity.
Outdoor pools. And apparently swimmers like cold water. To swim in, and so they don't want to swim in an indoor 50-meter pool. They want the outdoor 50-meter pool.
For practicing for competitive events,
And we've sent a couple people to the Olympics from our pool. The pool's a great idea, but it's very expensive to run a 50-meter pool, and it's about $2 million difference between 25 yards and 50 meters.
The rest of it staying as is, and then just the difference between the pools.
There's where the $2 million comes. So they did the design for us. It came back, and we picked the design we liked, and it was the 25-yard pool, because that's what we could afford for the 8.5 million. Well, then the swim teams came to us and said, we don't want you to do that. We want you to have a 50-meter pool.
Right.
And we said, well, we'd like to have a 50-meter pool, but who's going to pay for it?
Right.
And, you know, the swim teams rent the pool, and they pay to have the meets there, but that doesn't come anywhere near the $2 million
that cost,
difference.
right.
It barely covers the cost of actually having 50 meters of water versus 25
right.
yards of water.
Right.
And so when that happened, then Ann Rest came to us, the senator, and said, you know, the legislators have money. They have a bonding bill too.
Right.
So it shouldn't be confused with the governor's bonding bill. The governor's bonding bill does the bridges and the streets and the highways
right.
and the you know, the big transportation stuff. The legislators have a bonding bill too, where they try to give money to their communities.
Right.
New Hope has never taken advantage of this, and we never really thought about it, quite frankly. So then we met with Ann Rest and Lyndon Carlson and Mike Freiberg, and then last week we met with Dave Erdahl to talk about, Dave Erdahl's in the Senate, and he controls the bonding. So talk about what's the possibilities of this happening. Well, we won't know till probably mid-March, maybe the end of March, whether or not we're going to get this money. And if we get the money, then we will build a 50-meter pool. If we don't get the money, we're going to think about what else we can do. Now, we are bonding $10 million, but that includes the moving of the theater, a new theater. It also includes a lot of the other stuff that's around the park. So it isn't just the pool area. And 50 meters takes up a lot more room than 25 yards.
Yeah, it would.
And so that takes up more parkland. And when you make a bigger unit like that, you also need more parking, which takes up more parkland. So we want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Right. Well, and then you discovered from having community input, is there are a lot of people from outside the city that use that facility because of the rarity of those kinds of pools. So it is a facility that affects people in other cities, not just New Hope.
What Ann Rest had told us, and this makes sense to me now, is this is a regional asset.
Right.
And as a regional asset, we should be able to get some regional help to do this. Going to the cities and asking them for money isn't going to work. Asking the swim teams for money isn't going to work. You know, they have fundraisers
they can't raise that much
to, you know, just to keep their teams going. So the money has to come from somewhere, and we're looking at other options on where we might get the money. But the bonding is the biggest option. So
come in a month or so, you'll find out what happens there.
I hope so. We'll put it on the billboard as soon as we know. As soon as we know what's happening.
Now, what is a time frame for the completion of all these different parts that we've talked about?
The City Hall and Police Station should be 16 months from February. So probably June of 2019, we should be able to move a City Hall into the new police station. Once we move, we'll tear down the old City Hall and Police Station, and then they'll start building the pool. So even though it seems like a long ways away, it takes a long time to design this thing.
It does.
And we want to be able to go to the contractors and say, you know, you do a good job on the City Hall, we'll talk to you about the pool. So we don't want to put this out any longer than we have to. We need the time for the planning to make sure we're doing it right and doing the right thing.
And then people might not be aware of the fact that New Hope and Crystal jointly can go to use each other's pools. So there is a facility for people to swim in during that time of
we do a joint pool pass with Crystal. So you can go to either pool with your pool pass. The pool won't be open until the summer of 2020. So it's going to be quite a while before we have that pool ready. People should be going to Crystal if they want to use the pool. Crystal doesn't have a 50-meter pool. Those kids are going to have to go somewhere else. They're probably going to have to swim inside if they can't find an outside pool. But, you know, we're working on it. We're trying. But we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible to our citizens as well as trying to accommodate the swim clubs.
And the bonding has been let, and you've gotten that approved for the City Hall part, but you wouldn't do the pool till later?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. We got a very good bond rating, by the way, and we got a very good interest rate on the. We were originally considering borrowing $20 million, and because of the wonderful interest rate we got, we were able to borrow 18.4. Huge difference.
Oh, right.
You know, when people talk about keeping good records and having a good finance, we subcontract our finance department out, and they do an excellent job for us. So AEM does all our financing for us, which has helped with our bond rating. It would be higher, but we don't have the demographics to make that happen. But nevertheless, we have a very good bond rating, and we don't have a lot of debt in New Hope.
Oh, and that
helps too.
Right.
So after this, that'll be a 30-year bond. After this, we will bond for $10 million. That'll be for the pool.
Right.
And then there's still the parking lot.
Oh,
now, I don't know if we're waiting with the parking lot till we can do all of the parking lot. We know exactly how big the buildings are going to be. I don't know if that will be part of the $10 million that we're bonding for the pool, or if that'll be a separate bonding issue.
Then there's a number of up-and-coming events that we should spend a little time talking about. The New Hope Farmers Market, maybe you want to fill us in on what's happening
It's going
there.
to open on the 16th of June.
Okay.
It will be on that Main Street right in front of City Hall. Of course, there's construction there, and a lot of the parking lots blocked off, so we'll be able to park there. I'm talking to the people in the farmers market. Hopefully they can maybe work out something with the fire department.
Okay.
They've had events at the fire department where they actually bring the fire trucks in from the street and they face the other direction.
Oh,
so in the event of a fire, they could go out the other side if they had to.
Right.
So there's a large parking lot in front of them that might be a potential to use. You should, if you're going to the farmers market, you should try to walk if you can.
Okay.
Because it just would be a lot easier than trying to find a place to park. On the first day of the opening, we're talking about having an art fair at the farmers market. The 16th of June, you don't have a lot of vegetables.
Right.
And so you have to do something else. I think that would be a great time for some of the artists we have around the area to bring their wares in.
Oh, right.
And let people see what there is. So art doesn't have to be a painting. It could be pottery.
Oh, right.
It could be jewelry, just something that's artistic.
And people in the community can see what artists you have available,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And then that street has the possibility of being blocked off, or what? Describe that.
We put ballards in.
Ballards. I couldn't remember the name.
When we put the street in, we knew that there would be times that we'd want to block off the street. And we can't block off the entrance into Hy-Vee.
Right.
And we can't block off the entrance into the fire department.
Right.
For some reason, they think they need to get out once in a while. So they're just to the north of the fire department and just to the south of the entrance into Hy-Vee. And these ballards come up out of the street. Right. And they block the street off. So we can use the street area for the farmers market.
Right.
And that's where the farmers market has been the last couple of years. The only thing that's going to be different this year is the parking. And it's going to be tight.
More of a challenge.
More of a challenge. So you're going to have to, you might have to go across the street to Hy-Vee and buy some food before you come to the farmer's market. So you can park over there. So we're not real sure where the parking's going to be, but it's not going to be insurmountable. We'll figure out a way to get that done.
And then it goes on into October, I believe, doesn't it?
Usually it's like the second or third week of October. You know, the corn is still coming, the squash are out. Some of the spring vegetables obviously are gone, but there comes a time when you have to say, you know, it's time.
Right. And it's been very popular.
It's hugely popular. We want to keep it popular. It becomes the focal point for people in the community. To see their friends, to be able to talk, just to spend some time there. And we think it's a good thing. It's not affiliated with the city in any way. It's actually a separate group of board of directors that manage the farmers market. So if you're interested in doing that, you can call City Hall. They'll give you a phone number. John Elder, who's one of the council members, he's on that board. He could tell you how to become a vendor if you want to become a vendor. And what the cost of that would be.
Well, and then I thought it was an interesting use where the city helped facilitate it because there was a community member that wanted to put the time into it. Maybe you can talk a little bit to that or give it a little example, because then maybe it'll stimulate someone else to
With the farmers market,
one.
When the thought first came, a woman by the name of Leslie Heinrichs came to the city and said, you know, I have this idea, what do you think? And then we had a gentleman that worked for the city, and he was really into farmers markets.
Right.
And so between the two of them, they started to formulate how this would
Right,
work.
right.
And started to write some bylaws, and then started to get a board of directors. About that time, we said, you know, we can do the newsletter from the city, but this is a for-profit operation.
Right.
We cannot be, the city cannot be part of that. So we pulled away as a city. John Elder said that he would serve on that board, which was very helpful. Eric Wise was the gentleman from the city that was in planning, and he did the newsletter, and he's now moved on. So it's pretty much detached from the city, but because of John's input, we always know what's going on. And we need to know what's going on because it is part of the city, and yet we don't get involved in their making decisions.
But it was the right two things coming together that enabled it, and it could happen for anybody that had the desire. And because it did took Leslie a lot of time and effort. And
it did
a lot of learning, and
well, you have to be patient. City government moves very slowly, but not. We're always willing to listen. And that's how the art fair is coming about. One of the citizens who happens to be on the Citizens Advisory Commission indicated that wouldn't that be fun to have an art fair? This has been in the works for a couple years. And if you've been at City Hall into the council chambers, you'll know there's artwork up and down the walls in City Hall. And that artwork has come from Robbinsdale, from a woman who's been working with us trying to get some of her artist friends' paintings in there. So it can happen, it just takes a while.
So just kind of encourage people out there, if you've got an idea, come and explore it.
We're always open for ideas. They can always call me. My home phone number is published everywhere you look.
Oh yeah, we've got it on the screen from time to time.
People have an idea, they can always call and we can talk about it and be willing to spend a little time and effort to get this done.
Just to let people know it can be done.
It can be done.
And then the Off-Broadway Theater puts on a musical each summer in the facility that's right by the City Hall. Maybe you can tell us about this year's.
So this has been going on for 40-some years. They're going to do The Wizard of Oz this year. They'll be having tryouts probably in a few months, where you can go try out to be the dog or Dorothy or the lion or whatever it is. The city donates $5,000 to the production. When you do a play that's got a name, like The Wizard of Oz, you have to buy the rights to that play. It's just not free. And then there's the costumes and the lighting and all that other stuff. Everybody's a volunteer. And so the actors don't get paid, but it just costs a lot of money to do that. So they're asking this year that people have a $4 donation to see the play, which is really quite a bargain. And bring some food for the food shelf. Always bring some food for the food shelf. Speaking of which, there's always a box inside City Hall. If you find yourself with too many cans of green beans and you want to get rid of some of them, just walk into City Hall right at the top of the stairs. There's a big box up there. You can just put your donations in there and they will get to Prism or near somebody that can actually use them. And
now when will the play, the musical,
begin
done this year? What are the dates?
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 21st, 22nd, 23rd of July.
19th,
19, 20, 21. July 26th, 27th, 28th, and then August 2, 3, and 4. And so I think the play started at 8 o'clock. You can check to see, make sure that that's the time. Look in the piece of information that comes in your water bill. It'll tell you the dates and the time. If you don't get a water bill, maybe if you live in an apartment, you can look in the post. You can always call City Hall and ask whoever answers the phone what time the play starts. So don't just assume that it's going to start at 7 or 9 or 8. Call in and check.
Good idea.
And there's lots of places. So up in the marquee that's right on 42nd Avenue.
The changing sign.
It would also say there what time the play starts. So there's numerous ways to find out, and always they can call me at home and ask me what time, where it is the date the right date. I'll have that all that information for them.
Yeah, it's really fun. We always have some friends, and we always go every year, and Hopefully we don't end up on a rainy night, right?
No, once in a while it doesn't rain out very
but not
often.
very bad. No, it's been pretty good.
And I think we're going to do the movies in the park again.
Ah.
And that's the same kind of thing, you know. Somebody said, well, just go to the video store and get a video and show that. You can't do that if you're showing it to the public.
Right.
You have to actually buy that. And the rights to showing that are $300. I mean, they're quite expensive. So previous years, the Women of Today and the Lions have sponsored that movie. So we're always looking for a sponsor, a business that might be interested in sponsoring that. But again, those movies are free. They sell popcorn and soda there if you want to go in. And they start at dusk.
We're going to talk about the theater that's down by City Hall and what you're going to do with it and why and what you hope to
So we don't have plans for, actual plans written down yet for that. We do know that it has to move. We know that it's an old building.
Right.
We're not going to be able to just scoop it up and move it because it just won't sustain that. When that theater was built, it was built for outdoor plays, and we know that like costumes and the props and all the stuff they have to be in a locked area.
Right.
They can't just be hanging out in a closet. So when they put them in that locked area, the theater becomes unusable to anyone else.
Things. Right.
So what we're contemplating is maybe having a room that they could put the theater stuff in, we can lock the door, and that we can use that theater for maybe a concert.
Oh, sure.
Maybe a band that wants to come to play, maybe a little dance routine that wants to perform. So we want to be able to use it for other things than just the theater. But again, that takes money and design time. Somebody's got to design that thing. And when I say somebody, I mean an engineering firm that knows what they're doing, and where we're going to put it, and how we're going to situate it so that people can sit and watch it. Maybe with bleachers, maybe not. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. But we will have a theater. We just don't know where, and we don't know how big it's going to be. We just know that it'll be someplace on that Civic Center park. We're looking at things again. Just looking. Right. Maybe selling bricks in the front. Maybe having a sponsor for the theater. Right. All these things are costly. And you know, you can't keep asking the businesses to kick in money all the time. Pretty soon they're not going to be able to do business. So there's ways we can maybe find some money to renovate that.
So one of the future and up and coming issues, but you don't have to deal with it right now.
Yes.
It takes a long time to work through all these different issues, but it is important to get all that input from people.
And you want to make sure it's right, and you want to make sure that people know.
Right.
And we want to listen to them.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your ideas and your thoughts about New Hope. We're glad you've been with us, and join us again next week. Bye.
Bye.